I'll be the interim executive director to help support all of you in that new role. So as you are all stepping into new roles, I am also. So I welcome you to come and visit me. I just want to thank you all for attendance who is coming in here and joining us. Family, friends, co-workers, associates, colleagues. It's much appreciated to see the support for our new senators here for the 24-25 school year. I'm not going to take up too much time. I love to talk, but I'll keep it short and brief. What I'd love to do right now is welcome up our Vice President of Student Affairs and Dean of Students, Dr. William Watkins, to get today's session started. Thank you.
Well, I think this is a good thing, but it's not often that we are really bringing in new executive leadership as a part of our staff here for Associated Students, along with new executive leaders in our student leadership. So let's give them both a cheer. What a wonderful team we see emerging here. It really is always quite an honor to be able to be here and be a part of launching a new administration here at Cal State University Northridge through Associated Students. For those of you who may not know, Associated Students is our student government. It's referred to the same throughout the CSU system. And it's important for you who are family and certainly those of us who are part of the university community recognize that our student voice is really very, very important and essential as we lead the campus. Our students are around other students a lot more than we're around students. And so we really rely upon our student leaders to be tremendous translators and communicators here on our campus. These inaugurals provide an opportunity for us to show visible commitment to our student leaders here. And in the room this morning, we have several very important colleagues. I'd like to just have them raise their hand and wave and say hello. We have Ron Phillip, who is our Chief Information Officer and Vice President for Information Technology. We have Colin Donahue, who is our Vice President for Administration and Finance as CFO. We have Shafali, who is here. She is in governmental relations and community relations and everything else that we can add to her portfolio. We have Mira Kumbraju, who is our Provost and Vice President for Academic Affairs. I see Shelley Rellis Bischoff, who is our Associate Vice President for Student Life, and others here. The important thing is that we want to help you understand that there really is a group of individuals who are here to support our students as we move forward. You know, when I take a look at where we were last year, some of you, Iman was part of the government last year, and when we started our year out, we had a few things students had on their mind. They were concerned about the potential for tuition increase. It was one of the things that was being talked about there. We're talking about ways in which we could increase student involvement on our campus, and we're still engaged in that journey here. We're talking about advising and the concerns that students had in advising. And I'm looking at our provost and the fabulous job that she has led in improving advising opportunities on that resource for our students here. We're also thinking about improving student enrollment so we could bring more folk here to become wonderful matadors. And on several of those dimensions, I think we've really experienced some progress, certainly the advisement piece, and we're looking forward to an increase in our enrollment. We're wishing and thinking about that as we move into this coming fall, because there's such a wonderful opportunity available for students coming to Cal State Northridge. Our student leaders are a part of how it is that we talk about and market to prospective students the beauty of coming to Cal State University Northridge. And Katie is a tremendous voice for students, and so we'll have her do a whole lot more of that as the year goes by. But you know, as we go into a new year, there always are new challenges, and as we start our journey towards next fall, we certainly are thinking about really all of the things that are happening with students across the country as students have come together collectively to express a voice often to university administrations about ways in which we think about things like investments, about ways in which we think about things like freedom of expression and limits on expression and all of those kinds of things that are really churning right now. And so really what I want to say to Katie and Iman is that I really am so impressed by your courage to lead at such a time as this. I think we all realize that the perspectives are pretty intense around us. And students in particular are at a point in time where most things they do with great passion. And so there'll probably be a time or two where they'll be a little passionate about this time of morning on a Monday morning here in Student Senate. But we have the confidence that you have all the skills and attributes that are required to do this work and to do it well. You'll suddenly find yourself having to wrestle with how is it that I balance the perspective of 35,000+ students, despite the fact that I may have my own perspective about things, and that'll be a fun twist for you to share your voice. But what's important is that as leaders that we create an opportunity, a space for everyone to be heard and to be respected, and for all of those identities to know that they matter here at Cal State University Northridge. So with that, you haven't jumped up and run for the door, so I haven't frightened you off, but I wanted you to know that we are keenly aware of really what leadership means for colleges at this point in time. And so we're here to support you in every way we can. And one of the ways I get a chance to reflect that is to swear you in. So why don't you come on up here? All right. All right. Katie's the first student body president I've looked up at. I've looked up to a lot of them, but all right. So here we go. So and then state your name. You can raise your hands too. See, she knows the script. Right hands are raised. And then state your name. Promise to meet the responsibilities set before me and to uphold the Constitution and bylaws of the Associated Students of California State University, Northridge. I also promise to comply with the policies and regulations of California State University, Northridge, and of the state of California. It is my pleasure to say on behalf of the faculty and staff, student body of California State University, Northridge, we congratulate you on your elections, and we're so honored that you have now been inaugurated. It's your turn.
Is this you?
You want to go first?
There you go.
Hey. Hi. Thank you for gathering here today. It's such an incredible honor to stand before you as a new Vice President of Associated Students at California State University, Northridge. Very excited. Reflecting on my journey to this moment, I'm reminded of how far I've come, and we can all come with determination and support. Just last year, I joined Associated Students as a senator. My relationship with CSUN, however, began quite differently. Despite living near campus, I was largely uninvolved and disconnected, especially in the aftermath of the pandemic. I didn't fully grasp the vibrant community that surrounded me. That all changed when I finally took a step onto this campus with an open mind and heart. What I found was a second home. The amazing faculty and staff welcomed me, and the incredible student body showed me the limitless potential within our community. CSUN transformed from a place I merely lived near to a place I belonged. This transformation was not something I achieved alone. I was inspired by numerous role models here at CSUN who exemplified leadership, dedication, and a passion for community. These individuals encouraged me to strive for excellence and to become a role model myself. Their guidance and example propelled me to take on more responsibilities and ultimately led me here as your new Vice President. I'm incredibly excited to lead such a dynamic, growing campus. We are a community brimming with potential, talent, and ambition. My hope in this role is to prevent students from feeling the way I initially felt when I started at CSUN. And I want them to be enabled to immediately feel like they belong. Together, we can achieve remarkable things. My commitment to you is to work tirelessly to support and amplify your voices, to make you feel empowered, and to continue building a CSUN where we can all be proud of. I'm committed to advocating for the needs and rights of every student, ensuring that our concerns are heard and addressed. Let's embrace the opportunities ahead, and let's continue to support one another on our great collective journey. Together, we can make this university an even greater place to learn, grow, and thrive. Thank you so much all. Thank you all so much for your trust and support, and here's to a bright future.
That was so sweet. Okay. Hello, guys, family, friends, AS constituents, and distinguished faculty. Thank you for being here in support of myself and the other student leaders being sworn into our positions. It's been a long and hard journey for me to be in the position that you see. From my humble beginnings as a lobby corps member in my freshman year at CSUN, to assuming roles of increased responsibility, including that of a lower division senator, and now humbly as your student body president. Each step has been imbued with invaluable lessons and experiences that have shaped my leadership philosophy. I can assure you all that the journey was not easy, but one that has greatly contributed to my success within this organization, whether it was from mentors, friends, families, or personal experiences. Together, they have equipped me with the fortitude and vision necessary to serve our student body diligently. This ability to act as president of AS is something I've been crafting for my whole life. And if you all knew me around 5 years ago, you would have never thought that I would become the student body president for the Cal State Northridge. I'm so glad to be working alongside Iman Khan as my vice president, as she will play such a crucial aspect in our organization, as well as within my presidency. Some of my hopes and ambitions that I want to take into this position start internally. I believe a forgotten aspect of being the president and a leader is to craft leaders out of our organization. I will personally take it upon myself to mentor, be a role model to, and assist the board of directors, executive cabinet, as well as other members of the various departments of associated students to flourish into genuine leaders who act with integrity, open-mindedness, and confidence. Externally, I envision a campus community unified in its diversity. While we are prideful of the rich tapestry of backgrounds and perspectives that characterize CSU Northridge, I recognize the imperative of addressing the potential divides that can emerge within such diversity. Through collaborative efforts with campus leaders, I intend to facilitate dialogues and initiatives aimed at fostering unity, whether through inclusive events, targeted marketing strategies, or proactive engagement with pertinent student concerns. I can keep spewing my ideas for the year, but I know everything can and will probably change as the time comes. I would not be able to accomplish anything if it weren't for some of the individuals here in the room with us, past constituents, and the general support I've always. Your belief in my capacity to affect positive change fuels my determination, and I promise to not let you down. Unwavering support of our student leaders and the exciting journey we have ahead. All right, so now I want to take this opportunity. I think we might only have one in the room. So I will say all three. Actually, you can see them on the Senate meeting agenda, but I'll just say one of them then. So when I call your name, please stand for recognition. Kiri Sarabia for Chair of Legislative Affairs. And then our next one is going to be Ruby Uribe for Chair Personnel and Communications. I don't believe she's here, but we can give her an applause. And then our last one is going to be Omar Jawanet for Chair of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion. And he's also not here, but it's okay. All right. Thank you all for your time. I'm now going to invite Dr. Watkins back to the podium for the inauguration of the Board of Directors.
They're great speech makers already, right? I think there are probably some parents and family members in the room. Those of you who are parents, family members of the. So much. Wow. Fantastic. Thank you so much. I always say to parents, we promise to send them back home unbroken. Yeah. We know that these students won't be able to balance all of this without the support that you're going to provide. Warm hugs, little ice cream every now and then, few nickels and dimes. But really your role in all of this is important as any others. And we want to express our thanks and appreciation to you for that. So now we're going to inaugurate the Senate. These are the individuals who will be voting routinely on matters that come before the Senate. And so what I'd like to do is have each of the incoming senators just come and stand here. And then I'm going to let you introduce yourselves one by one and then stand to my right, making a circle. And then I'll come back in after you've all introduced yourselves. So senators, why don't you come over to your right, my left. All right, they do this so well. All right, just come and introduce yourselves one by one and then take a stand on this side.
Morning, everyone. I'm Brandon Aronson. I'm going to be the Upper Division Senator this year.
Hi, everyone. Good morning. Oh my God, that's so exciting. My name is Ella Perez, and I'm going to be the Arts, Media, and Communication Senator for this year.
Morning, everyone. Thank you for coming. My name is Isaac Avino, and I'm going to be the other Arts, Media, and Communication Senator.
Hello, I am Navid Shazari, and I'm going to be the Senator for the College of Engineering and Computer Science.
Hello, everybody. I'm Bella Pulliam, and I'm going to be the next Education Senator.
I'm Jocelyn Harris, and I'll be the Senator of Social and Behavioral Sciences.
Good morning. My name is Haruyuki Miyoshi, and I will be your Lower Division Senator for this year.
Let's circle around this way. All right, raise your right hand. Here we go. I, and then state your name. Promise to meet the responsibilities set before me and to uphold the Constitution and bylaws of the Associated Students of California State University, Northridge. I also promise to comply with the policies and regulations of California State University, Northridge, and the state of California. On behalf of the faculty, staff, and student body here at California State University, Northridge, it is my pleasure to welcome you as new incoming senators. Let's give them all a cheer. Okay, you can be seated now. And we're going to call Tim up for some closing remarks.
Looks like we're right on time. I want to thank everyone in attendance here, Dr. Watkins, all the AS staff who are here, CSUN faculty and staff, senators and cabinet members. Those will be your support system also here when you're on campus. So look around and find people and talk to them, say hello, and they can help you in your journey. So with that being said, I'd like to give another round of applause to our new board of directors. And I would like all the board of directors and cabinet members to come up here if we can. We're going to get a group picture with you all before we start our meeting. And thank you, everyone. I appreciate your time and effort to come here this morning.
Okay, so newly appointed Board of Directors, please join Iman and I at our seats. You can find your name at each seat. And we'll be starting the meeting as soon as everyone sits down. Can we hear me? Okay, I've never used these mics before. All right, welcome to the first Senate meeting of our 2024-25 administration. I'm going to call this meeting to order at 9:04. I'm going to be handing this off to the government secretary. Oh, you're right. There's a lot of other things that I need to do first. So I'll first start with the land acknowledgement. Associated Students recognizes and acknowledges the first people of this ancestral and unceded territory of Fernandino Tataviam Band of Mission Indians that is now occupied by our campus of California State University Northridge, honors their elders and the descendants of Fernandino Tataviam Band of Mission Indians. Associated Students recognizes that the tribe is still here and we are committed to lifting up their stories, culture, and community. And now we will go on for the Pledge of Allegiance. If you guys can stand if you're able. Thank you all. Now we will move on to the roll call with Government Secretary Moss.
Okay. Vice President Khan, Senator Aronson,
Here.
Senator Davis, Senator Gavino, Senator Harris, Senator Miyoshi,
Here.
Senator Nantawanakul, Senator Perez,
Here.
Senator Pulliam,
Here.
Senator Radionov, Senator Scher, Senator Shirzadi, Senator Tran. One second. We have a quorum.
That's really good news. Okay. Now we will be moving on to the approval of the agenda for June 3rd, 2024. Do we have a motion? Senator Shirzadi,
I move to approve the agenda for June 3rd, 2024.
thank you. Do we have a second? Seconded by Senator Miyoshi. Is there any discussion on the approval of the agenda for June 3rd, 2024? Seeing none, if there are no objections, we will pass this motion unanimously. Are there any objections to the approval of the agenda? This passes unanimously. Thank you. We will now move on to the approval of the minutes for May 6, 2024. Are there any motions on the floor? Senator Gavino?
I move to approve the minutes for May 6, 2024.
Awesome. Is there a second? Seconded by Senator Shirzadi. Is there any discussion on the approval of the minutes for May 6, 2024? Seeing none, if there are no objections to the approval of the minutes, they will pass unanimously. Are there any objections? Okay, this passes unanimously. Thank you. So we do not have special presentation today, but we will move on to open forum. Open forum is intended as an opportunity for any members of the public to address the Associated Student Senate regarding any issues affecting CSUN students. Speakers are allowed 3 minutes each to speak. Please sign in using the clipboard for minute recording purposes. I would suggest, Kiri, this is also your time to formally introduce yourself to the Senate, if you'd like to.
Good morning. Hello, everyone. My name is James Forster. I serve as the AS Programs Manager. So I'm the manager for AS Productions as well as AS Sustainability. I will try to be at almost every single Senate meeting, so sorry, you'll see me a lot. But my job here is really to help give you all some updates on some of the events that we'll be putting on as the semesters go on. I'm also here, my office is located over in the Sustainability Center. I'm here as a resource for you all as you all may need to plan events or need to use some equipment that AS has. Please feel free to swing by or shoot me a message. I'd be happy to help you all out as need be. To give you all a little update that I have, we do have some events that are going on over the summer that I just wanted to make sure that you all are aware about. So over summer, we host summer movie fests as part of Associated Students. So every Thursday over the summer, starting this week, we will have a movie out on the library lawn. This will run every single week except for the week of July 4th. That July 4th this year is a Thursday, so we will not have a movie that night because the campus is closed. So just to give you all an update on the movies that we'll be doing, for at least for the month of June. So for the month of June, we will be doing this week Back to the Future. Next week will be Kung Fu Panda 4. The week after that on the 20th will be the Barbie movie. And the week after that for June 27th is Rogue One, A Star Wars Story. So you can expect to see me hopefully at every Senate meeting to give you all some updates. But if any of you have any questions, just let me know. And thank you all so much.
Thank you, James.
Okay. Hi, everyone. My name is Kiri Saravia. I served as the Humanities Senator last year under President Hajrulu's administration. And today I'm here to introduce myself. Hopefully in a few minutes as the new chair of Legislative Affairs. I'm honestly really, really excited to have been offered this position. I've worked alongside a lot of people that have a lot of experience within advocacy work, student advocacy, higher education advocacy, governmental advocacy. So I feel like it is something that I'm extremely passionate about, and I'm extremely excited to continue moving forward and hopefully working alongside all of you. I really want to be not only a colleague, but also a friend to all of you guys. If you guys have any questions or anything like that, I am more than happy to answer them. I'm more than happy to help you in your journey as now student leaders and senators. But yeah, that's me. Thank you.
Thank you, Kiri. Yes, we will be voting on you after my report. So now we'll be moving on to reports, starting with mine. Wow, first president's report. This is exciting. I really hope it's not that long, guys. But hello, everyone. Welcome. Welcome especially to our board of directors. I'm very excited that we are starting this year off, and I appreciate all of you joining because this is a very important position to have on our campus, and you all, took a very good opportunity, and I'm glad to have you guys with us. So generally as the president, I will be overseeing AS, and then I'll be guiding our board of directors as well as leading our executive cabinet. Also, as you can see, I chair Senate as well, so I will be here. Office, send me an email, some of you guys have my phone number, not all of you, so. Okay, so then the next thing I want to put is our Senate standing rules, so they were supposed to be on this agenda, we're supposed to review them, sorry to names. But they will be introduced and you will have the opportunity to vote on them on our July 15th meeting. But generally speaking, and then standing rules sort of the guide for all of our senators. Vice President Khan throughout the summer. And then stuff I will be doing. So I plan on meeting with more departments aside from leadership to get a feel of what everyone does and just generally familiarize myself with all the departments that run within AS so I can serve as a fully fledged leader of this organization. And then I'll be attending the Panetta Institute of Public Policy this Sunday for a week for a leadership seminar that will be taking place in collaboration with CSU Monterey Bay. So that will be really exciting. And I hope I remember a lot of the stuff so I can report it at the July 15th meeting. And then we have been holding more interviews for Senate and Cabinet. Iman will touch on Senate, but in terms of Cabinet, so today, as you can see, we're voting on appointing 3 Cabinet members. And we have applicants for the majority of our cabinet seats. So if you know anyone that would be interested in applying, and then just to finish.
Senate seats. We've received a lot of applications, and interviews for Senate seats specifically will be kicking off this week. Please encourage your peers, campus leaders, students you know, someone in your college, your friend who needs a job and happens to be a good leader, especially if you have a co-Senate seat that is vacant right now. My goal for all of us is to start the fall semester with a full Senate. Okay, now some expectations. We didn't have the opportunity to go over this in our most recent training, so I figured I'd take the time now. I just want to emphasize the importance of maintaining professionalism. We touched on dress code. You guys all look beautiful today. We go by a business casual dress code. If you have any questions, please ask. We're also going to codify this, so that will be in the July 15th code. You can look forward to looking at that. But as for right now, if you have any questions, let me know. We just want to uphold an appearance. We are student leaders, so, you know, we got to dress to impress. Okay, and then Katie touched on this, but transparency and open communication, it's at the heart of everything we do. And we want to keep an informed campus community, and that starts with us. So we're committed to keeping you all informed about activities, decisions, anything we've been up to. So expect a lot of emails. Please, please, please keep looking at your Senate emails. That will be our primary source of communication. And then I just started a GroupMe last night. So you guys are all in that. If you haven't been added to that, that is on me. Please let me know. And we want to just keep you in the loop every step of the way, take advantage of that. And so with that, we want to facilitate some real-time communication. So take advantage of this group chat. It allows for quick, immediate feedback, and a space to share ideas. Sharing ideas is going to be really important for another part of my report, so keep listening, please. And please don't mute us. We beg. That has happened before. Please don't mute us. And my office is always open to you. You know where it is. Questions, concerns, ideas. If I'm not in the office, you have my email, you have my phone number, you have my GroupMe, you probably have my Instagram. Like, you can always reach out. Okay, so with that, looking ahead, for senators, you all have to host a town hall, and I put this in quotation marks because we want it to be fun, we want it to be you, but this is just something you should be looking toward. Start looking at dates, start looking at your class schedules, figure out when you want to do it, how you want to do it. This is intended for you to just engage with your constituents. So put that in the back of your mind, and that's where the whole real-time communication comes in and sharing ideas, because be as creative as you possibly can be. We are here for it. We will be here to support you. Which order should I do this in? Laptop policy. We prefer that everybody's in the moment. We have our agenda up here if you need it. We also understand, or I understand, I don't wear my glasses often, that you can't always see the screen. So like a half fold would be very kind. And some important dates to remember: July 15th, as we've been referring to, Senate meeting. August 5th is our first Senate meeting for, August 5th is our last Senate meeting for the summer. We have an AS Development Day on Wednesday, August 21st, which is a cross-departmental training that will be really important. We can see all the different departments of Associated Students. And our first meeting of the fall semester is the first day of the fall semester, August 25th. We're always meeting in here. And yeah, I'm really excited to see what the year holds for us. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice President Khan. Are there any questions on the Vice President's report? Seeing none, we can move past our Chief of Staff, Chair of Finance, Attorney General, standing committee reports to the AS Executive Director's report with Patrick Bailey. I'm just bringing this up to mention that I have not received a report from Patrick, so I'm assuming he does not have a report. So next we'll be moving on to the University Advisors Report with Asia Butler.
Good morning and congratulations, everyone. So for the Matter Involvement Center, we are just preparing for the upcoming academic year. We have 4 vacancies in our space right now, so we're trying to streamline operations, make sure we're well prepared to start off the new year, and look forward to working with everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, Asia. Are there any questions on the University Advisors Report? Seeing none, we can move on to the Faculty Advisors Report with Dr. Veda Ward.
Good morning, everyone. I'm hoping that your summer is going very well so far. Very difficult to imagine that we've already come to the end of an academic year and that we are transitioning into a new one. So for those of you who are on a fiscal year and it ends on June 30th, welcome to almost summer. Believe it or not, spring has really gone by quickly. I'm really happy to meet you all. I am so excited to work with associated students again. And I hope that I have an opportunity to get to know you individually. For some of you, you are transitioning from a previous role. For others of you, you're brand new student leaders, and particularly in associated students. My role is really to give you sort of a transition, a reach out between faculty, and not only my own personal voice, but also that voice that represents other faculty members who you may know, may not, and again, to get to know who we are as human beings, just as we get to know you. And then finally, my role here is to make sure that I stand up for shared governance, and that is governance between faculty, staff, administrators, and our wonderful students. So I'm definitely looking forward to working with you. I want you to be able to reach out to me individually if you have questions about any issues that are going on with faculty. You all will be representing yourselves and your constituents in the standing committees of our Faculty Senate. And I look forward to hearing your voices and learning of all the things that you bring to the table in those agendas. So again, welcome to you all, and of course, have a wonderful summer.
Thank you, Dr. Veda Ward. Are there any questions on the Faculty Advisors Report? Okay, seeing none, we can move past unfinished business into new business. So we have one item of new business to approve the 2024-25 Senate meeting calendar, which is labeled as attachment 2 in your Senate packets that were emailed to all of you. I hope you guys had the time to review them. Are there any motions on the floor? Senator Gavino?
I move to approve the 2024-25 Senate meeting calendar.
Thank you. Is there a second? Seconded by Senator Shirzadi. Is there any discussion on the approval of the 2024-25 Senate meeting calendar? Okay, seeing none, we can take this to a vote. All in favor of approving the 2024-25 Senate meeting calendar, please raise your hand. This passes unanimously. Thank you. All right, we can move past information items into discussion items. So discussion items are items that do not involve immediate action by the Senate, but which benefit from discussion among the Senate. So our discussion item is going to be a report on the support for divestment from war on campus referral. Iman, if you'd like to start it off. Yes, go ahead.
All right, so at the very last Senate meeting of the last administration, there's a report made about where funds are going, student funds in general, and specifically associated students. And in this issue that was brought up, we discovered that there is no ethical spending policy that Associated Students is functioning on. Now, with that, there's no malicious spending from Associated Students. However, I think it's very important, and the reason the report was made is because it is very important to have some guidelines on how to spend. I just wanted to put this on everybody's radar as it's something that we aim to work on this year. So there's a lot of challenges that go into this. I wanted to get some feedback on everybody's thoughts. this comes at a very student-driven time of advocacy where you see campuses changing their spending policies. And I think it's important that CSUN associated students reflects on our own spending policies. Does anybody have any input? I could keep going. Yes.
Oh, sorry. Do we have specifics about how these spending habits would change and where this new spending would go to with regard to different departments?
Yeah, so spending within associated students wouldn't change necessarily, especially how the report was written. It's more of implementing external spending, which is like, for example, we got breakfast this morning. Where did we get breakfast from? You know, assuming that the breakfast place secretly didn't like CSUN. It's like, should we be spending our money there or should we not? So things like that. Internal spending wouldn't be affected. We'd still allocate our proper funds to each AS department. This is more of an external stance to take. And it's less so changing our spending habits and more so cementing that we continue to spend in an ethical, reasonable manner. Yeah.
Sorry, I have another question. Are there specific standards for how we are going to evaluate whether a specific business or specific investment might violate the standard, or is it more fluid?
So that's why it's on the table. We want to open it up to everybody, and we want to see everybody's thoughts, opinions, how they want to go about this. Y'all are the board. Like y'all got to make these decisions. It's awesome. I just wanted to put it on everybody's radar so we can ask these questions and get the ball rolling.
I will generally say, aside from this discussion item, I know that basically what Iman said, I know that the past administration had worked on / discussed this topic heavily because it is a heavily discussed topic across CSUs and college campuses across the country. And obviously as in Iman and I have had conversations and taken it upon ourselves to take these opportunities to also engage in that conversation and advocate for what the students in our country, in our CSUs and at CSUN would like, essentially. And also it comes from what we believe is right as student advocates and as human beings. Essentially though, I know that some of you guys are pretty fresh to all of this. Discussion items generally are we just talk, we don't vote on anything. But something that could come out of this conversation is one of you may feel inclined to write a resolution, or either Iman and I would feel inclined to write a resolution. And obviously a resolution that is voted by all of you and can be discussed and amended by all of you as well. But what Iman said is that we just want to open the conversation, see if anyone has input on the topic. Asia?
I just have a few questions. So it sounds like what you all are talking about is the possibility of developing some guidelines maybe or recommendations for the use of AS funds when it comes to procuring different items or services, right? If you were to develop some guidelines, would these guidelines only apply to AS departments and programs? Would it also be extended to student clubs and organizations? And if so, if there was a student group that felt that they didn't want to comply with that, would they be prevented from using those funds? And what would the management of that process look like?
Yeah, so that's actually a great question. I was able to co-author this report, and I consulted our chair of finance, many, many times about, because Associated Students' like goal is to just enable students to be their best and do what they feel is right. So we wouldn't want to hinder any club spending. That's completely on them. We are here to provide their funds. We allocate like a certain amount of fund to each club for like particular reasons, and that wouldn't change at all. This is more so for external spending from Associated Students itself, not from, we wouldn't be policing clubs' individual spendings on themselves. That also goes for STAR funding.
Senator Pulliam?
So you're saying that it was a discussion with the other campuses as well. By any chance, do you have any, like, have you looked at those and what do those look like?
So other campuses, other CSU campuses in particular, have written full resolutions. I can share those with you. I can share them with all of you. It's actually very interesting to read on how everybody goes about this. And I think the most important thing to reflect on at CSUN in particular is that as far as our investigations have gone for CSUN Associated Students itself, there is no concern as to where our funds are going. This is more so to put it into writing, and it's for like long-term effect. I totally lost my train of thought. It's for long-term effect, and it's not for any particular, we don't see any particular issues now. It's more so to kind of gain trust and security in the students that may be concerned about where funds could go.
Senator Miyoshi?
I believe you stated that we don't exactly have guidelines established for ethical spending. Are there guidelines related to financial disclosure so that students and faculty and other members understand where AS funds are currently being allocated and for what specific purposes they are being planned to be utilized on?
That is a fantastic question. I don't think so. It would be really awesome if we had a chair of finance to answer that. Lionel, I see you in the back. Can you just nod yes or no? Yes. So assumingly you are able to view where AS spends their money and there is disclosure on those things. Senator Miyoshi?
What is the actual process for accessing the financial disclosure forms? Are they, could they be possibly challenging for students who may need to see them in a timely manner?
It's also a great question that I don't know the answer to. If we had a chair of finance, it would be Lionel's nodding yes again. Is it easy? It is easy. Lionel is saying it is easy to access. Is it on the website? On a website, it seems like. If you would like, you can have a conversation with Lionel following this Senate meeting. And ask him, because he knows all about that stuff. He'd love to answer your questions.
Thank you.
Any further discussion? Senator Aronson?
I think one thing that is really important to note for discussions like this, especially with regard to international affairs, is to be sure that with making these guidelines, they don't necessarily alienate any specific group of people that are on our campus. I see it as Associated Students' mission to represent all students on campus. So I think it's really important to ensure that all students feel as if Associated Students sees them and understands where they are on a global scale, despite the fact that certain students might be on certain different sides of a specific international conflict. So I just think that's a really important thing to know, to sort of prevent any alienation of any certain students within CSUN student body who we represent.
You are absolutely right. Iman, I'll pass this on to you as soon as I'm done. You're absolutely right. And then these are things that we consider all the time as student representatives. We're not just representing one side of anything. We're representing all of it. And we're representing all the students at least. And we do often take these, not often, we always take these things into consideration. And obviously, I think a lot of it is around the ethical spending in regard to what can be considered either illegal or war crimes or things that can be, you know, in that nature, not necessarily the context of it or if there's sides or opposition or regardless. But that's not information that we are coming up with. It's not subjective, it's objective information that we would be gathering from, you know, credible sources and whatnot. And then Vice President Khan?
Yeah, I 100% agree with what you had to say, Brandon. And I just realized that this isn't attached to the document. I think it's because it's a discussion item, so there's nothing to vote on. But I'm gonna send that over, and in the oh, it's been sent over. It has been sent over. In the report, you can read that we want to take more of an ethical spending stance rather than a stance that's been driven by either like quote unquote side. And this is just for it's very like general guidelines that have been like laid out in the report. And this is exactly the reason that we want to put this as a discussion item, especially so early, to get this feedback and make sure that everybody's on the same page. Ethical spending can be interpreted in so many ways. I believe we do have an ethical spending policy that relates only to recycling and sustainability. It has nothing to do with moral values or ethical values or any of those really, really important things. So yeah, these are great points to bring up. And I would love to work with you if you're so inclined on writing something like this. I would love to work with all of you. It's up to you whether you want to take this on or not. Yeah, thank you. Yeah. Oh, you're the chair.
Senator Pulliam?
If something were to be written on this, how would we like hold it accountable for it? Like who would oversee that?
So, to write something, okay, you mean a resolution?
Yeah, it's more like after we enact it, like who would be the one that like oversees all the spending?
I understand. So that isn't an exact technical conversation we've had, and I don't want to fully be like, yeah, it's this department, but it will, like, if it is in regard to finance and accounting, it's gonna be our accounting department. But obviously that is a not burden to bear, but that's a pretty big thing to just be like saying it in the Senate meeting, be like, all right, yeah, you guys got it or something like that. But obviously that is something that would be much further steps down the line. But essentially, yes, if it had to be a department, it would be them, assumingly. Any further discussion? Senator Davis?
Permission to be recognized?
Granted, thank you. Any further discussion? Senator Miyoshi?
On the topic of resolutions and how they can be enforced, can you recall any instances where a resolution may have possibly been violated and what action had been taken to address these sort of discrepancies in conduct?
That's a good question. So generally, we don't have like a specific person that's on top of whether resolutions are abided by or not. Like it should just be the general like unified body of all of us that hold each other accountable. There hasn't been an instance that I've been aware of a violation of a resolution. We do have some resolutions that state that every year something is either said on a certain day. So for example, the Armenian Genocide Remembrance Day, for example, we have a statement that we say on that day if it falls, well, whatever day it falls on, whatever Senate meeting it falls on. So that's an example of something that we abide by based on a resolution. And to my knowledge, things have been abided by, to my knowledge. So I haven't seen any clear violations. Senator Aronson?
Is there, I know that you guys mentioned that other campuses have enacted similar resolutions. I'm wondering if you're aware of a precedent of how restrictive these resolutions can be.
Can I ask restrictive in what way?
Restrictive with regard to, is this more so like an umbrella of many different businesses? For example, would you say any businesses that support or have branches or franchises or provide funds to maybe one or multiple specific countries? Or is this more of a case-by-case basis with regard to, for example, Starbucks, like companies that are being boycotted by many large groups of people? Is it more of more specific on a case-by-case basis, or is it more of a umbrella type?
That's a good question. I will first say this and then I can hand it off to Vice President Khan. I'm sure she has stuff to say. Campus by campus is always going to be different. So we might think, generally speaking, for all of you to know, all CSU ASIs or ASs function very differently. I think we have the largest, if not one of the largest AS or ASIs. Some campuses call it ASI. And we have a large amount of departments. That means we have a really large budget. There's some campuses that their budget is probably like $1 million and we're 10 or 11 times that. So we also have one of the biggest CSU campuses. So generally speaking, financially, everything will be different. And then you can assume that spending policies and what is deemed ethical and what isn't and how restrictive it is very subjective to the campus.
Yeah, it's just seconding what Katie said. And then, we're our own unique campus, so we don't have to base what we do off of anybody else. You are the board of directors. You get to make these decisions. What you want it to look like is what it can look like. And it's just the initiative we're going to take as a collective to write a resolution or maybe another report or enact some spending policies. And I want to also emphasize that in the report that was made, a lot of discussion that was brought up is that this expands much beyond what's happening in current politics to the future, to the past. We can look anywhere and there's always some sort of discrepancy in how spending is handled and who wants what. So these guidelines that we want to set with the best intentions and we want to start from scratch. We don't need to base ourselves off of any other campus. I think our Associated Students does a really, really great job in empowering student voices. And that's what we aim to do here. And we want that to translate into our, our receipts per se.
Senator Aronson.
So I know that you guys had previously stated that this is only with regard to external spending, not internal spending. I'm wondering how that would relate to specific club spending. So for example, let's say a club gets funds from us as Associated Students, and then they use those funds to, let's say, get services or goods from a specific business that goes against our guidelines. How would we go about that? Or does that fall sort of outside of our guidelines?
I will hand this over to Vice President Khan.
Yeah, I know a lot of this I'm like, oh, last year the discussion was, and this is, I'm just trying to emphasize what's in the report. By no means do we want to take away student autonomy and student club autonomy. Clubs are free to do what they want with the money we give them for the correct reasons. Obviously, we don't want them going and spending, speaker money on I don't know, food for the board of directors, their board of directors. So we want them to spend ethically in that sense where they're, being honest about what they're doing with their money. However, we don't want to restrict what they do with their money. If they want a certain speaker or if they want to use STAR funding to go to a certain place and it's all within Associated Students' proper guidelines, we're not going to restrict where they go or how they spend their money. Or that's at least the goal. I'm not that financially savvy within AS yet. I wish I had a chair of finance. But as far as I'm concerned, that's how student funds run. And that will not be interacted with at all. It's restriction of free speech and, free act. And that's not what Associated Students stands for by any means.
And I will preface first and foremost that this is an ongoing conversation. So why we present this to you all as a discussion item is because we're not coming in here being like, this is what it is. This is how we're going to do it. This is not even like a resolution is kind of like an individual or can be an individual thing or can be written amongst multiple of you. At the end of the day, it lies in your hands as the board of directors to vote and approve something like that. just generally speaking. And then again, yeah, this is an ongoing conversation. This is a conversation that we'll be having with multiple departments, not just within AS, but within CSUN, multiple individuals, multiple faculty members, if this is something that we choose to continue, if that makes sense. And then this is also a conversation we'll be having with you guys a bit more if the opportunity arises. Any further discussion? I was just gonna say fruit. Iman said fruitful, and I was really just gonna say this was a fruitful conversation. Any further discussion? Going once, Senator Perez.
Just for like clarification, I guess for wording on my end, is it more so just like a promotion of ethical spending as opposed to like more so regulation?
Yes. As of now, yes. I think if it were to go to the next step, that would be something different. But I think so.
But it's more so just like a AS supports ethical spending as opposed to, or I'm sorry, ethical guidelines to spending as opposed to like, you can't spend your money on this.
Iman is giving the thumbs up, so I'm gonna say
It would
yes.
be like implementation within how like we're spending. We continue to fund clubs as we do because that's what we're here for. And we would advocate for ethical spending on campus. Whatever that may look like for the individual student. You know, we're just here to be a voice. We're not here to like police.
Any further discussion? Senator Miyoshi?
So if if these are more or less suggestions rather than enforced rules for spending, isn't there some concern that should it be confirmed that a group is spending it on possibly demonstrably unethical causes, that we don't exactly have a leg to demand some kind of correction or addressing of like malicious spending?
That's a great question and great point to bring up. So that's why I had mentioned earlier that this is an ongoing conversation. We could go to a point of creating an ethical spending policy within AS. I think that that was what was discussed with the report last year. Iman was a part of a group of individuals that were heavily discussing this last year. I was not a part of AS last year, so I kind of got the tidbits of it, but I didn't get the full details of what they actually had in mind. And I agreed what they had in mind. I just like don't really remember that much. So we're gonna kind of start a conversation fresh. But that's a good point to bring up. And that's something that we would definitely consider. But again, it's a conversation that we're still having. Vice President Carr.
Yeah, and that's actually, it's a really unique point to bring up. So when we fund clubs, organizations, and students, we have guidelines that we give out for them on how or why they're getting funded. So if they're having an event, we'll have a specific fund that they get the event money from, and they break it down for us on how they're going to spend it. XYZ goes to food, this goes to rentals or a speaker or whatnot. And so we approve that. And if the club or organization is going and doing things that they weren't supposed to do with that fund, that's a different conversation rather than micromanaging exactly what they're buying and how they're buying it. We like to give our clubs autonomy within some guidelines on how to spend money, and that's for their sake and our sake.
Senator Miyoshi?
On the topic of club spending, are clubs in any way required to have a sort of democratic policy when it comes to determining when and what to request money to fund particular projects or campaigns? For example, does a club need to have a policy where all of its members, or at least a significant portion of its members, can sort of like have governing power on what their like next project or funding amount should be?
That is fully up to the discretion of the club. There's no guideline or policy that is right. You're nodding. Okay, so I'm on the right track. So yeah, there's nothing that tells like all clubs like in unison that they have to collectively decide how much money they're requesting or whatever. I mean, some clubs subjectively run with governance and some don't. Some are just having just general conversation and making those decisions for themselves and proposing them to associated students for supplemental funding or funding, star funding or anything like that. I hope that answers your question,
Mhm.
Senator Miyoshi.
Are clubs in any way encouraged or explicitly told to possibly inform the associated students about who exactly is the one like proposing for requests, or who is the one that is the most responsible for organizing a particular event that may require funding?
I'm sorry, you're gonna have to repeat your question. I got kind of confused.
Are clubs encouraged to state like who are the people deciding or discussing about events,
I see.
like organization or whatever they're asking us to fund?
Not necessarily. There are, in general, you can make your assumption because there are individual people that I believe submit them, and the majority of clubs have a club president, if not almost all of them. So you can assume that they have the responsibility of, and they all have, like, some of them have treasurers as well. So you would assume that they have the responsibility, just generally board members of the club, over financial propositions or anything of that nature. And also when a request reaches finance committee, board members or individuals from the club are asked to present to the finance committee what their request is, if that makes sense. So if there's, I don't know, everyone's was using the CSUN Book Club because it doesn't exist. But if the CSUN Book Club comes to finance committee, right, it doesn't exist. That's so weird. Why doesn't that exist? So if the book club president comes to finance committee and is presenting, and they want $3,000 for new books, they come to finance committee and they're presenting and they're like, hey, this is what we have, okay? We want $3,000 in total. This is where it's going. And we want each amount, X amount for this, X amount for this, X amount for this. Finance committee does not have to give them anything for that matter. Finance committee makes the jurisdiction of giving them a certain amount based on the code on finance, which we were all talked about within our training day. You guys were paying attention. I'm just kidding. So yes, if that answers your question fruitfully. Oh, yes, go ahead, Senator Miyoshi.
If a club member has objections to like its own club requesting funding for some kind of event,
Mhm.
what courses of action do they have to sort of advocate for their position to object to a request for funding for their own club to AS members?
That's a good question. That's not a question for me. I think that there's no guidelines in place. I think that's just something that the clubs are gonna have to hash it out and figure out a way to make it work. Because I don't think that the MIC generally has jurisdiction over the hierarchy of how the clubs function, or if there needs to be like majority vote for financial requests to be. They don't run similarly to us at all. Clubs do not run like us. So if you think that they do not. They're very, very different. Yes, Asia.
I'll just add, I would say for the most part, most clubs, when they're presenting, a funding request, they have talked about it, right? They've decided like, we're going to do this event, we're going to do this activity, this is how much it's going to cost, and they request that. It's also important to keep in mind that when a club is allocated funds, that money isn't transferred into their club account. It stays with AS, right? So the club still has to submit invoices, receipts, different things like that. And so the finance and accounting office, they verify, they make sure like, hey, you are only supposed to spend this much money on this, so we can only reimburse you for that. So there is some checks and balances as far as on the AS side with making sure that that money is spent, for what it was funded for. But when it comes to the club, if there's a disagreement, like, oh, I know we said we would spend this much money on X, but I think we should do something else, that's something that the club would need to decide. And if they need to either go to the AS to ask for more money in one area and reduce money, they would have to present it back to the finance committee.
Any further discussion? Well, thank you all for your questions. We are looking forward to continuing this conversation and many other conversations with fruitful questions and input. So we are all done with discussion items. We do not have legislative referrals / we will not be reading them out until the fall semester starts. Hi. We will now move on to announcements. Are there any announcements from the board? Asia?
I'm sorry, were you going to do appointments or no? Were there no appointments?
No, we had already done our appointments during my report.
Oh, sorry, I missed that.
Yes, don't worry
Okay,
about it.
Thank you.
Yes. Are there, oh, Vice President Khan.
Just another reminder, over the summer, we do have some events for AS specifically. As James said, we have our Summer Movie Fest, so come to that. And then our Senate meetings, July 15th, August 5th, Training Day, August 21st, and then our first Senate meeting of the fall semester on the 25th. Really impressed that I remembered all those.
Any other announcements from the board? You guys can, if you guys have an announcement, you can, but generally this is a time that you could take too. If you have events, you can say, hey, I have an event next week, or if there's some things happening within your college that you want to bring up, you can also take that opportunity in this time to say that in the future. Awesome. Oh, Senator Pulliam.
Hannah and also the secretary stay around after. I have pens, flowers, pens for you.
Wait, say that again. I did not hear a word.
The flower pens I have, you two, I forgot to give.
No, I have one.
No, the secretary and Hannah.
Oh, okay.
I'm sorry, I forgot your name.
Say-
It's Madeline.
Madeline. There's a choice of white or red.
You better make your pick. Okay. Any other announcements? Announcements at all? Sweet. No announcements. Okay, we will move to the final roll call with our government secretary.
Vice President Khan. Senator Aronson.
Here.
Senator Davis.
Here.
Senator Gavino.
Here.
Senator Harris.
Here.
Senator Miyoshi.
Here.
Senator Perez.
Here.
Senator Pulliam.
Here.
Senator Radionov. Senator Scher. Senator Shirzadi.
Here.
Senator Tran. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I will now adjourn this meeting at 9:58 a.m.